Welcome back to Fishing Planet. In this video I'm going to be teaching you how to set up your different rods. The reason I'm doing this is because some of it can be a little bit confusing if you don't have much experience with fishing. And also I'm trying to figure out why I'm receiving comments people saying that they can't catch fish. I don't know if it would be their setup, if they're using something like completely different to what you should be using. I don't know if they're fishing in the wrong spots. But hopefully with this you'll have your rod set up properly. So it's just a matter of going to a lake, trying different areas, trying different baits and things like that. Once you understand it for one rod, it's very similar for the rest. And I will be covering other videos. You'll see at the top I'm now level 30. I've done a lot of grinding at St. Croix Lake. I used up my 3-day pond pass. I managed to go from, I think it was level 19 all the way up to 30. So looking in our inventory, I have 4 rods set up currently. Different types of rods that do different things, catch different types of fish. I invested in a load of new gear because I made a lot of money at St. Croix Lake, and there will be a video coming for that soon. To start things off, we have the Phoenix 11'5". This is a match rod, and the most important thing when you're setting up a rod is making sure that your rod, your reel and your line are roughly the same sort of weights, because if you have a rod that has a max line weight of 17.5 pounds, you go and put a 20 pound line on, because the line is too strong for the rod, you increase the risk of damage. So when you're setting up a rod like this is just a standard, I can't even remember what level it is, I think it's level 23. It is the level 23 match rod. I've got the rod set up, and then I also have I bought the Fat Boy Spin 5000, because that has a max drag of 17.6 pound. So they're like very similar, line weight, max drag on the reel. And then the line, because fluoro line goes like 15, 20, 25. It kind of goes up in 5 pound increments. There are a couple of different ones in there. But if I was to put 20 pound line on, the line's too strong for the reel and the rod. Therefore increases the chance of damage. So we've got the 15 pound fluoro on. And then with a match rod, it's going to be bobber or like float fishing. So I've got a bobber on. I've got the X series pear-shaped float. I always make sure the floating weight is extra high because like all that stuff differs on what sort of fish you're catching, and the area I was at in St. Croix Lake, extra high is the best to have. Then I've gone for a 6.0 catfish hook. I had the standard hooks on. If we quickly go and have a look at the hooks, you'll see like the size 6, size 8, the type are Kirby, and I tried those for northern pike and things like that, and I wasn't getting any bites at all. So I switched up to the catfish hooks, which are these ones. They come in like 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, and then you go up to like 7, 8, 9, and I think you get 10, you get 10.0 as well. But the catfish hooks, you can get barb and no barb. The barbed ones are the best for northern pike and things like that. You can catch pretty much any species at St. Croix Lake with the barbed ones. And it depends on what type of fish you're going for. But literally, the difference between me not catching a single fish and catching loads and loads, even uniques, was literally just the hook. I switched from the size 6 Kirby over to the 4.0 catfish hook, and I was getting bites left, right and centre. So try different hook types. You have to do a lot of like experimenting with your gear, with spots and stuff like that to learn more about the fish. But once you found it, like pretty much if you cast out, you hook onto a fish, there's going to be plenty more around that area, and a lot of lakes you can always search for the splashes. And I've got shiners on for my bait. The bait isn't really important for setting up your rod. You would choose whichever bait you wanted to use. For my next trip, I'm actually taking a lot of different baits with me, and I'm going to be using some grubs, I'm going to get some shads, I'm going to be using crankbaits, and I've got the casting spoon and narrow spoon there, just for if any fish want to take those. So that's the match rod. Then we go into the lure rods instead of bait. I've got the Rivertex Sound Monsters, these come from the anniversary pack, and with these all you have to do is exactly the same process. You literally just make sure that the line isn't too heavy for the rod and the reel. So you can see here that the line weight is up to 46 pound on this rod, and then on the reel the max drag is 42 pound. So I'm using 35 pound test fluoro line. Fluoro is probably the best to go for, although again depending on what fish you're going for you might prefer braid or mono. And then I have the crankbait 8-foot 6.0 hook. You'll see I've got a nighttime crankbait in there, different depths and stuff because it depends on the depth of the water. and also what fish you're going for. Then on the next Rivertech Sail Monster, the lower one, like the less line weight and stuff like that, basically the next one down from the big boy that comes out of the anniversary pack, 42 pound line weight. The reel, the Redfish 4500, has 35 pound drag, which is perfect for the 35 pound line. It's not too heavy, so like the line isn't too heavy, so you don't increase the risk of damage. Although your stuff will get damaged, you can't repair your line, but you can repair your rod and reel. Although with the anniversary pack, you're going to go through levels very quick if you know what to do. So you'll eventually start making a lot more money, but this stuff is very expensive to repair, including like your nets and everything like that. But on this one, I've got a jig head because I want to try using some soft baits. So I've got the 6/7 ounce 4/0 hook, barbed jig head, and then we have a 3-inch grub in the white colour, which you'll see fitting hook 2/0 to 4/0. That's why I've got a 4/0 is the biggest hook you can get for the grub to fit on. And I'm going to be purchasing shads to try different fishing like techniques, see what fish bite in and stuff like that. Then over to the fourth setup I've got the Ardix 13'2", which you'll see there is another match rod, but it's got a much better line weight. It's like a much stronger rod than the first one. So it's the same setup again, and the only difference really between this and any other setup you would have is some rods will take casting reels like a bait caster over a spinning rod that would take a spinning reel. And then also with the feeder and I believe the bottom rods, if I quickly unequip, I'll take the crankbait rod off. If we put one of my old rods on, so if we've got this on, you can see that it's got a different setup. This is 11 pound line weight, so I'm going to, I'll just put my spare Fat Boy spin on. Okay, so we've got some line on, we've got the rod and the reel. So now we would have to get a sinker or a feeder. I prefer using sinkers. I might have to switch that up to feeders when I'm going for bigger fish later on. And with the sinkers, you'll see next to the rod's description on the left hand side, the casting weight is 1 3/7 to 4 2/7 ounces. So we would go with, let's try a 1 3/4. We'll equip that on, and then we'll get a mono leader. If we would just grab the 4, so we have a leader on, then you can set the leader depth, and then we need a hook, so we'll grab we'll just put a size 6 Kirby hook on. Then we need some bait, so we'll get the bait from over here, and we'll put on a shiner. Tackle is too heavy and can break the line while casting, therefore you would more than likely have to lower the weight of the sinker. So the current sinker is a 1 3/4, so if I have like a 1 1/2 or a 1 1/4 or something. Okay, let's just try, I don't have too many different size sinkers. 7/8 ounce, like is pretty much an ounce. We put that one on, and then I believe that's still too heavy, because it also, like, it depends on the weight of the bait as well. You'll see like shiners and medium cut bait are heavy, and then mediums are heavy for small cut bait, and I believe the small minnows are light. So if you take the shiner off and then put it back on, terminal tackle weight is optimal, so you don't have to worry about it being too heavy or being too light. If it's too heavy, you increase the risk of damage. If it's too light, your cast is going to be short. So switch up your sinkers and stuff, get that terminal tackle weight optimal, and then obviously to go on top of that, you would put a bell so that you can hear when you get a bite, because with a feeder or a bottom rod, you wouldn't be standing there like you do with a spinning rod constantly reeling in. You just cast to, like if you find a deep hole at a lake, you cast there, you let it drop, it sits on the bottom, and you wait for your bites. Like you would use this sort of stuff to go for carp and catfish. So if you get that bell, terminal tackle weight still optimal. They're very, very light pieces of gear. A simple bell, it just sits on the tip. Then you've got your quiver and stuff as well. So that would be perfect to go and catch whatever you felt like going for, depending if the fish are biting and stuff. But mix up the baits, try different terminal tackle. Just make sure that you always have your line weight, the test of the line, lower than your rod and reel. Otherwise it will pop up with an error every time, so you shouldn't really be making a mistake with setting it up. It will tell you if your terminal tackle weight is too heavy, if it's not heavy enough, and you just switch out a couple of things mainly your sinker with a feeder rod, just so that your terminal tackle weight is optimal, therefore you don't have bigger increased chances of causing damage. But that's pretty much it, just a little video to explain how to set up the rods. It's not too difficult once you get to grips with it. There's a load of different tackle and stuff you can use, different types of rods. You can have telescopic, spinners, feeders, bait casting. There's a good amount of stuff in this game. If there's anything else you would like to know, then let me know in the comments. There are other videos on the channel at the end. During the end screen, you'll see there's a playlist with all the different videos I've done for Fishing Planet. But that's going to be the end of this one. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it helped you out. Thank you for watching.